we use the restroom and then we can keep chit-chatting. I'll just sell the guys real quick if they want to pop out. All right. Camera guy's not here, so I'll operate.
Is your Sally, is the dog?
Sally?
She is a people dog.
She's
By your side all the time.
very much a people dog.
Yeah.
She's the curious one. Mic check, mic check. Check, check, check. All right. Mics are hot.
I have two dogs.
Yeah, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Remote Sales Nation special broadcast here. I'm joined by
Bill Goodwin.
Bill Goodwin. And Bill, we're just winging it here, so we'd love to probably start with maybe who you are, what your story is, what your background is, and then we can kind of pick up the conversation that we were chatting about backstage here.
Yeah, sure, man. Thanks for having me on. I've run a lot of different sales teams and call centers, different companies ranging from 25 to 400 reps. Today, I help businesses scale more quickly, coach them how to do it. And a big part of that a lot of times is the sales organization and how do they turn that into an elite organization.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so you're local here in Phoenix, obviously.
Yeah.
And you did some work with the Crown Brothers
Yep.
over at Insight. And so we were talking backstage about the sales stadium that was built, that Insight built. So maybe you can kind of give like what that is. And I think it's very similar to like the vision that we have here as well. So
yeah, sure. So for those of you who don't know Insight now is a multi-billion-dollar company. And quite a while back, they built a new building and they built these stadiums for inside sales reps. And it was really impressive when I got there because what the Crown Brothers did is they built stadiums where you basically had a bullpen down in the middle with all the managers. And then you had reps in circles around that, all about 2 feet higher than the other. So you could feel this buzz and this energy and everyone feeding off of each other and giving each other sales tips. And we just crushed it. I mean, because of that bullpen design, it was amazing to see how sales just grew because of that energy that was created in a very thoughtful and calculated way to build a sales center like that.
And what would you say, we debate a lot about, remote sales versus in-office, going hybrid. What do you think, if you had to make a case based on your experience for, in person, what do people get in person that maybe they don't get if they're on, Bill Island or Micah Island, kind of doing the sales work?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can be successful virtually, but I think it takes longer. You don't get up to speed as fast because you're not learning from all the people around you. You're not collaborating. You're not hearing what somebody did well. Somebody's not helping you with a mistake. So I think the in-person environment really helps you become more successful more quickly. That's number one. And then long term, there's something about that energy that helps you be a better sales rep. When there's energy in the room, and I think we all know this, you can feel an energy in a room or not. It's hard to have energy in a room if you're sitting in your own room, in your house. But if you walk into an environment where the energy is high, it's naturally going to help you close more deals. So I'm an advocate that even if you're virtual, somehow figure out a way to be partially in the office, because that makes a big difference in terms of your performance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we were talking about how, you know, in 2025, we're really in the golden age of fractionality. So we're seeing a lot of these sort of outbound sales agencies pop up. You know, former VPs, former CROs, and they're just figuring out that they can make so much more money, you know, going fractional, servicing multiple clients, and they know how to build these sales machines.
Right.
So with that, you know, the Glen Coco platform, we were talking about how Glen Coco has the tech infrastructure to support those agencies. So we've got a few in the office here, and we're working with a few local ones. We're mutually connected. Sounds like through Corey Frank, and you know, you ran into him a couple years back as well. So do you have any thoughts on like the state of like the market and what you're seeing from, you know, obviously you've built and sold a few companies, but what's your hot take on sort of where, you know, sales orgs are at today? Maybe macroeconomic trends, movements. You know, what are you seeing from your perspective?
You know, I think one thing that I don't think that changes in sales is I think sales is a relationship business. I don't care what you're selling. And there, at some point, there's a person-to-person contact, especially for higher ticket sales. And so, but with technology and with AI and with what you can do through different platforms to optimize it, you can build a mechanism around the individual salesperson that helps them close more deals more frequently. But sales in my book is, I mean, whether you're selling a $20 item or a $2,000 item, it is still a emotional transaction, and it is still one that is best served, so people to people. I don't think if the question is more around can you know, fully automated SDRs or AI SDRs replace real salespeople, I don't think so. Especially when you're trying to sell something of value. Mm-hmm. People buy from people. That hasn't changed ever. I don't think that will change in the future either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So part of the kind of RSN, like this is the people watching are like in the RSN like inner circle.
Yeah.
And my whole bit is I kind of just share like the insights. I always share the inside scoop. I probably say things I shouldn't be saying, but that's why they come. So I mean, you have a consulting practice now, and maybe if you don't mind speaking a little bit about that, and I don't know if, you know, to pick up where we left off, you know, how should we be working together?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me, and I love the kind of impromptu video type of thing. You never know where that's going to go. But
I'll mention one thing. It's but it's so characteristic of sales.
Yeah,
right. You're doing things on the fly. Bullets are flying. You're running tight plays over and over.
Right.
And things are just going to break. Things are going to go the wrong way. And so I think it's always a testament. Like what we do here is like until you can, you know, throw in a $10 million check for us here at Glen Coco and RSN.
Right.
We're just going to have to, you know, here's the production team. So
yeah, no, I like it. And I think weighing it is kind of the best way to go. It's the way you learn fastest too anyway. So I mean, I coach companies on how to scale. Typically I work with executive leadership teams and help them figure out how to scale with less friction, less drama. I mean, scaling a business is hard, but we make it more difficult than it needs to be. And as Micah mentioned, I've scaled a few different businesses. I've had a couple exits, which has been great, and made an incredible amount of mistakes along the way. And so now I try to help other companies not make the same mistakes that I made. Because really, you have a great idea, you have a great business, and you want to see it come to fruition. You want everyone to be happy. How do you take out friction? If you can do that, I mean, growing a business is a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you based on what you know about Glen Coco and what we're doing here at RSN, I mean, is that even something you would even try and take on, or like, is there
Yeah.
something for us to work on together other than
Maybe.
visiting the
Yeah.
Insight?
Yeah,
We got
I'll
to take a
figure out.
tour.
I'll figure out a way to get you in there. Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think you're in a space that I spent a lot of time in call centers. I was a call center rep. I got into a straight commission call center rep out of desperation because I hated my first job out of college. And so I jumped into this thing, and then my career grew by growing call centers and all B2B outbound sales. So you're in a space that I find actually really cool and really rewarding. And it's a tough job, but organizations like yours figure out a way to make it a little bit easier for people to be successful, a little bit easier for companies who contract with you to get the qualified leads that they want. And honestly, that's, I think, pretty cool because you're bringing parties together and you're helping both complete a transaction that's beneficial to each of them. So yeah, there's probably a way that we can end up working together. I don't know what that looks like yet, but we can explore it.
When was the last like sales or like cold call center that you kind of helped build or be a part of, advised recently?
Yeah. So I've run centers ranging from 25 up to 400 reps. Built ones in New Jersey, Phoenix, Kansas City, different cities, different markets. I had a small call center when I was running the telemedicine company. We did a lot of that. And then we had some when I was part of Walmart. The company I sold was to Walmart. So I didn't know I'd be working for Walmart, but I worked for Walmart.
Do you mind if I ask the sale price?
I can't disclose the sale price, but it was a lot. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the shareholders were very happy with the end result, which is good. But yeah, man, I mean, call centers, I just think I have the utmost respect for people who make their living over the phone being a sales rep because you have to be really, really good to be able to sell without being face-to-face like this, right? Because you can't build the same type of relationship. It's just not as easy to do that. Mm-hmm. So I have a huge appreciation for inside sales, independent sales reps who have mastered how to work over the phone and Zoom calls and virtually, or even in bullpens and environments inside, because it's a tough job. But those who do it well can do really well. Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, especially now with the Coco platform, you can make $500, $600, $800, $1,000 just for booking the meeting. The deal doesn't even have to close because these companies say, hey, our average sale size is 50, 100, 500 grand. And so we're willing to pay, $1,000, $2,000 just to talk with that, potential customer. And then the numbers, pencil out.
Yeah, so. and again, it's the one thing I think we all know about sales. It's a numbers game. You got to play the numbers. You can never win. A quick anecdotal story. I've gone in, taken over call centers, and I remember this one in New Jersey where I had 200 reps, and they I basically come in and say, hey, look, we're going to have some standards. Here's the number of calls we make a day. Here's the close rate we should expect. We're going to arm you with what you need. And I'd always have a couple of veteran reps come over to me and say, hey, Bill, yeah, I know those other reps need to make more calls, but I'm really good. So I don't need to make as many calls. And the truth was they were actually good, but guess what? They were never the higher income earners. You know why? Because they didn't play the numbers. You got to play the numbers to your advantage. Why wouldn't you? If you're a good sales rep, make the 5 more calls a day, close the one more $1,000 appointment that you booked, and then watch that add up over time. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'll have reps come up to me and say, hey, Micah, the data's off. I'm getting destroyed on the phones. I'm like, okay, well, what are the numbers looking like?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, well, let's take a look at the numbers.
Right.
So we sit down. Oh, well, you only put in 2 hours of dial time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you can't derive. It's such a small sample size. It doesn't tell a story.
No.
Right? And so you have to have enough sample to pull off of. And then from there, that's when you can start coaching. But I think to your point, ground zero is just, you actually have to put in the work, and that's like 90% of it, and
Yeah,
a lot of it figures itself out.
and what I think people don't realize, just like watch a sporting event, right? Like watch a pro game or whatever. The teams don't get into their flow until the second or third quarter. You can't. I mean, honestly, you can't get in your flow if you're not making enough calls. Because once you click, it's like a runner's high. Once it clicks, man, you're crushing it because you're in the rhythm. But if you're not making enough calls or they're spaced out, you're never going to get into that rhythm, and you're never going to achieve what you could.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's the exact same thing. That's
Yeah.
the exact same thing, and we have a whole bunch of like workshops and trainings of like, it usually takes probably like 1 to 2 hours minimum to
Mm-hmm.
get into that flow state when you're calling.
Yep.
Especially after you're ramped. So
Yeah.
yeah. I think a lot of reps think they can log in, dial 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there, do some other stuff. And cool, in aggregate, you dialed 10 hours this week, but the rep who blocked out 3, 4, 5 hours of just pure focus time is gonna run circles around you.
No doubt.
So yeah.
No doubt they will.
Yeah. So I kind of, okay, so this is a bit of a turn, but what was it like? Your last company you sold to Walmart,
Yep.
correct?
Right.
And at what stage did you come into the company? Was that your baby right from zero, or like did you come in
Yeah.
in a management change, and then what was like that process?
Yeah, my whole background is usually the board or the founder brings me in to be the CEO. Like they're ready to take the business to a next level, and they want to bring somebody else in to do that, and that's usually what I've done. So the company, the telemedicine company, they brought me in as a CEO, scaled it over a few years, sold it to Walmart, and it was virtual care like Teladoc, National Healthcare, and then I ran virtual healthcare for Walmart. And again, no one knows Walmart was in healthcare, but they had a really big healthcare enterprise. And so I ran that. And so it's kind of interesting though, just from, you're the CEO of a company, and then all of a sudden you're the head of a division inside the biggest employer in the US, the biggest revenue company in the US. And so it's a big transition there, but still responsible for growing virtual care for all of Walmart. And that was pretty exciting. Very different though. I'd never worked for a big public company like that, and it was a great learning experience for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so now you have your own consulting practice.
Right.
What's the vision now? Is it just kind of take it easy, do some advising? Are you going aggressive with what is it called again? Growth
Optimized. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, I'm going aggressive. I don't think I'd be good just not taking it easy. That's not very fun. I mean, honestly, I love going into company. Like last night, I was giving a talk to 12 different entrepreneurs who are trying to scale their business. I find it exciting, man. Business growth is exciting. We make it more difficult than it needs to be. So trying to make it easy. I love going out and doing that and helping companies. I mean, I don't know everything, but I do know some mistakes that companies need to avoid. And I also know some things that they can apply that will actually accelerate their growth. And that's fun to do. It's fun to be part of a growing business. No question. So no, I'm not slowing down. I'll keep growing this and keep finding companies to work with.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. If you had to be brutally honest about what you know about our business and where we're at today, and you came in, like as a consultant, you said, okay, here are your problem spots, or maybe you need to ask a couple more questions, right? I mean, feel free to ask any other questions you have about what we do. What do you think's stopping us from getting to the next level? What should we be thinking about from a growth perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked for a little bit, and what I always think about is I think you've created a pretty good platform and ecosystem that provides value to two different sides of the equation, kind of like I did with FreightQuote. So you have both the businesses who are looking to get qualified leads, as well as you have people who are looking to earn money by setting up prospecting. And so you're creating this kind of marketplace for that all to occur in real time. I think where it gets interesting or a little bit more exciting is when, okay, well, how do we optimize that, right? I mean, where are our current breakpoints? Is it we're not getting enough SDRs reps on the platform? How do we get more businesses to do it? And then specifically, how do we increase the success rate of sales reps as well as the close rate for the people who partner in us? Because the more value you can create for each one of those groups is gonna jack up the value of what you've created. Yeah, of course you know that. That's the case. But that's where I'd be hyper obsessed about trying to figure out optimizing both of those. I might not even focus on both at the same time, right? You and I were talking a little bit about reps and how do we help them get up to speed faster and how do we optimize that and what can you do virtually and what can you do in person? And if you can optimize reps, they close more deals or they set up more appointments. Clients love that. Clients tell other clients, you start building more people coming on the platform. So there might be a natural place where you would start first to try and improve the overall marriage, if you want to call it, between a closed deal from a rep and a client who's looking for a new lead.
So for the sales orgs you've been a part of, it's always been inside sales, right? It's the
I've had outside sales, but the majority has been B2B inside sales.
And then let's think, you've never had to sell a product or service, or your guys have never had to sell a product or service for a different company. Is that correct?
Well,
like in an agency model.
Yeah, not an agency model. No.
Okay. So one of the key differences is there's a degree of separation when a business decides to outsource their top of funnel sales kind of motion. And so I think we've played around with positioning the program as a few different things. Like Hunter will position it as more of a marketing program. We're creating impressions, awareness, educating the market, and then the sales conversion is ultimately what we're going for. But what you're really paying for is awareness and education in the market, right? So he'll charge per conversation. Some clients just want a butt in seat to work leads. We can provide that. Most of the time, though, they want a qualified meeting.
Sure.
And so everyone's definition of qualified meeting is, so I'm going to throw like a puzzle at you, see if you can solve it. But everyone's got a different definition of qualified meeting. Sometimes it's ICP based. Sometimes it's like they have to be buying within the next 6 months. They have to have budget aligned and all that. Sometimes they got to be Amex waving in hand.
Yeah.
But for a motion like this, where you can go as high as on the funnel as marketing, all the way down to a sales accepted lead, what do you think the sweet spot really is from like a qualification, and how do you kind of align client expectations on what a program like this, is actually yielding?
Well, I think that's the question. First of all, do you have enough data on different clients and what works and what doesn't, where you can start to define kind of the scope of what qualified means? And if they're looking for something that's uber qualified, like literally they have to do nothing, well, there should be some different rate or charge or structure to that, because that's a much more significant lift to get that type of deal closed. So it's almost like, I would almost like to think of some sort of tiered type of qualification, but up front with the client, there had to be some understanding of what qualified means, because you're right. You ask 10 different people what a qualified lead is, and you will get 10 different answers. So either if you have the data, you can tell them what qualified means to you, and then they buy that or not. You could have tiers of different qualifications that cost more or not. If you don't have the data, then I think it really gets into working with the client to make sure there's a complete understanding on what qualified means. And then that way you can price it accordingly.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because we'll start off an engagement and it's like the honeymoon phase, right?
Of course.
And then down the road, as we start gaining momentum, all of a sudden it's like, it's funny because in this model, you can actually be too good. If you make it look too easy, then the client says, the business says, wait a second, we can do, that's how fast, that's the art of the possible. That's how fast we can go in a program like this. We're paying way too much for it. Or why don't we just do this internally, right? So there's that piece, but then also customers may get a little more picky when there's an abundance of riches, right? And then they'll hand pick and say, you know what, we won't work this one. Yeah, we'll work this one. So that is an element that I think we could definitely do better on is
Right.
like anchoring of exactly objectively what the program is. And then from there, reminding them of when the program first started, right? We're 5 years into marriage, screaming at each other because,
Yeah.
Bill, you didn't do the dishes,
Right.
right? You're like, well, told you this was going to happen, right? So here's how we,
Yeah.
work through that. So,
Yeah. I mean, the whole client management, I think just a quick note on that is that it's a good problem to have where clients are saying, wow, this is really easy. I would often let them go try and see if they could replicate it because they can't. They can't replicate what you're doing. And so they're going to go try and do it. And then they'll be like, oh, wait, Glen Coco was getting 2 times, 3 times the number of qualified leads. We better use them. So let them make the mistake and realize that what the value you provide is really big.
and we've had quite a few companies
Yeah.
that leave us and then come back because they're like, oh,
Yeah, and
you realize it's way harder.
You don't want the client that's trying to look for a kind of, you provide a valuable service. You don't want a client that's kind of looking for a way to learn and then replicate. They're not going to be able to replicate what you can do because of the experience and time you've put in and how you keep evolving your product. But, ultimately, clients are interesting. I think you probably find the majority say, this is really valuable. We couldn't do this. And you want to get more of those. And then you get that nice recurring revenue stream from those clients.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Okay. Well,
All
awesome.
right.
I know you have about 5 minutes
Yeah.
here. Any final thoughts? We have a lot of aspiring sales reps in our community, folks that are just getting into tech sales. We have sales veterans who are just now seeing, this fractional world and kind of getting a taste of, that remote sales life. And some people have varying degrees of belief, right? Some people truly believe in it. Some people are like, I don't know if I can do it. So I guess what would be your sort of word to, this up and coming generation? We're up next. So
Yeah, right. So listen, I mean, number one is you don't know if the role's right for you if you don't play the numbers, and you won't be successful if you don't play the numbers. So if you don't put in the time and energy to get through the learning curve and make the mistakes and screw up and have the bad days, you're never going to see the good days. So I think one of it is you just have to be really self-motivated, and you just have to be saying, I'm going to stick this out for this period of time. I'm going to commit to making X number of calls each day. I'm going to commit to doing it, like we talked about, in a 4-hour block and not doing 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there. I think that's number one, stick with the numbers. Two is leverage the resources you guys have on training and helping people to be a little bit stronger and know how to sell. And I know you model some of the sales calls that you make. You and your team do that. Leverage that training because you're showing them how you handle a call, what those dynamics are over the phone. So those would be my 2 recommendations.
all right. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, Bill.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah. Good stuff.